Hello,
Hi,
how are you going
I'm doing
today?
fine. How's it going?
I'm good. Are you, are there more people that'll be joining?
Just me. Yep.
Just, okay, that's so good. So, are you excited to be presenting this?
Sure, you bet. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys gave me the opportunity. This is great. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So do you want to take it away?
Pardon?
Do you want to take it away?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Should I share my screen first?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay. Should I just start it with this shared screen? Would that work? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do that first to make sure that everything's good.
hmm
Okay. How we doing there? Good.
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. Great.
Um,
Let's go do this.
yeah.
Hold on. There we go. Okay. It's almost time, so I'm going to get started in a couple minutes here. I'm going to wait till 11, which is my time, which is a minute away. So welcome, everyone. I'm John Larock. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you folks out there. I'm really happy and excited to be sharing some of my experiences of being an FRC mentor with you all. And we're going to have a good time. So bear with me here. I'll just wait another couple minutes or a couple seconds, and then we'll get started. Okay. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight or watching this later. I'm John Larock, and I'm going to be talking a little bit tonight about the joys and challenges of being an FRC mentor. And I'm going to start tonight to talk a little bit about, if I can move my screen here, I'm having some trouble moving my slides. There we go. Every person has a story. And I want to talk about some stories tonight and what mentors do to help people with their stories. Screen is up a little bit here, so sorry about that. There we go. So my story starts, at least when I was younger, at 2:30 a.m. Every day in Sugarloaf, Pennsylvania. And Sugarloaf, Pennsylvania is a very small town, and I grew up on a dairy farm. So we had to milk cows 2:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon. So fortunately, I didn't have to do it all my life, but a big part of it, my dad was a farmer. And that's how I started my day. So I learned about hard work. I learned about getting up early in the morning and learned about a lot of things that I really made me the person I am today. In my small little town, one weekend, I actually got a chance to visit a nuclear power plant, which was under construction locally. And that really got me into engineering. I knew I wanted to do science, but after I toured the plant, I said, I want to do things like that. I want to build things like that. And I decided that at that time that I really wanted to move into engineering. And so that's what happened there. Now, when I was in high school, I had mentors and people who motivated me, mentors, and those were typically teachers. And there are two of my teachers here who really meant a lot to me and pushed me while I was in high school. Mrs. Burgess was my chemistry teacher. She, and this is a yearbook photo, so with one hand, she is actually writing a chemical formula, and with the other hand, she's actually erasing the chemical formula, because we kidded her all the time about writing down so many notes each class that we could barely keep up. And Mrs. DeBellis was my French teacher, and both of these women were significant in my life to push me forward and to show me that I had worth and value and could do great things. So I thank them because they're part of my story. Professionally, I went to Penn State University in Pennsylvania and was in engineering, science, and mechanics. Initially, I thought I'd be a nuclear engineer, but I ended up being a materials engineer, a mechanical engineer, and I got my bachelor's and master's at Penn State. And I actually worked in composite materials, which you see a picture of here. So that was my area of expertise for my master's thesis. From there, I moved into DuPont, so the corporate world. And what I did there is I initially started as an engineer in a rotational program and moved into human resources. So I never thought I'd do that, but I moved into technical staffing, and then from there went into a full-blown human resources career. I was at DuPont for about 26 years. And after that, I left DuPont and I joined another company called QFix, a very small company, whereas DuPont was tens of thousands of people. QFix is literally about 150. And what QFix does is we make products that immobilize and position patients that are getting radiation treatment for cancer. So I definitely a singular purpose, and I'm glad that I'm at a company and able to contribute to that company that's doing so much for human life, basically. So that's my kind of professional side of my career. Who am I personally? So this picture, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So this picture is a cruise I took in 1991, and it kind of defines me around that time because it's a Star Trek cruise. And I'm sitting next to actually Gene Roddenberry and some of the actors and actresses in the original Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation that year. But this picture, as opposed to saying 1,000 words, there's 5 words I have for this picture, and these are the words. Yes, I am a geek. And so this demonstrates that I am a geek. And so in case you weren't, that does not fully explain that I am a geek. Here's another reason and more proof that I'm a geek. I've collected comic books since I was 10 years old. I still do. And so if you ever want to talk about that, look me up. But anyway, I'm a geek, and I'm a self-professed geek, and that has been a big part of my life. And until I got a family. And so this is my family. We love to travel. Of course, both Disney and cruises now are COVID says no, so we're going to wait, but my wife is a travel agent and we love to go various places around the world and do a lot of fun things. So this is one example, and this is another example for those of you in Australia. Hello, this is the bridge in the Sydney Bridge. So anyway, I love to travel, HR professional, and I got into FIRST. And so in 1999, I was introduced to FIRST Robotics, and started our team, which was the Miracle Workers. I'm the founder of the team. Our team name was the Miracle Workers, and Mo is our robot, if you're uninitiated so far. And Mo stands for Miracle of Engineering. And so miracles are all over this team's name. And why is that? Because DuPont was our main sponsor, and DuPont, the slogan of DuPont at the time was Miracles of Science. And so we thought, we're the Miracles of Engineering. We make the Miracle of Engineering, and we're the Miracle Workers. We're celebrating our 22nd season going into 2021. We're a community team, which means that we take students from any high school locally in greater Wilmington, Delaware area. We've been around for about 20-some years. So we work out of a DuPont site, so we don't have a specific school affiliation. And that has defined our culture, I think, as we went on through the years. And we are lime green and black. Our first team, 21 students decided that those would be our colors, and it's been our colors ever since. So that's our. I've been very fortunate in FIRST to be with the team as recognitions came our way. So in 2007, we were very fortunate to have been awarded the Chairman's Award. And that's one of the few times I had green hair at a competition. And now I barely have any, but that was the green hair competition. And then in 2011, again, very honored to be part of the Woody Flowers Award winners. And that's we'll talk about that in a minute. In fact, in seconds, because I thought about this presentation, and really, after giving you a little bit of background about me, which I always like to do, is to talk about what I'm thinking about regarding FRC mentors. So it got me thinking, what defines an FRC mentor? What is special about an FRC mentor? And so I wanted to share these pictures here are with some great mentors I've been able to work and interact and be with some fantastic mentors in FRC. And the top photo is our Woody Flowers Award winners a couple years ago in 2015. Obviously, we have the founder of, one of the co-founders of FIRST, Dr. William P. Murphy, Jr., in the center of the photo, and obviously Woody Flowers next to him. If you don't know much about Dr. William P. Murphy, Jr., please look him up on Wikipedia. He is part of why we're all here. And he has and continues to have a fantastic life. He should be turning 97 later this year. And just look him up, because it's fantastic stuff that he's done for society in addition to FIRST. And on the bottom here is our Hall of Fame forum a couple years ago, probably at Detroit. And obviously working with a lot of great Hall of Fame team members and representatives and mentors in that group. So again, I'm very blessed to have been working with all these mentors. So when I think about it, I think what are the responsibilities and roles of an FRC mentor? Now, your mileage may vary, but here's what I came up with when I was thinking about it. First off, we're teachers. So we're teaching engineering skills, we're teaching life skills, we're teaching all different types of things to the students that are on our teams. So teacher is definitely one of our roles. Innovator. So we're also working with new technology, trying to build things that were never built before, to play games that were barely played before or never played before, so we're innovating. We're realists, so let's get real. Mentors, it's not an easy life for mentors. I mean, we have to be looking out for and leading students to the next aha and solution, but at the same time, we need to be realistic about it. And we'll get to this a couple times in this talk, but it's more about what's really happening and what can we really do as a team realistically with the resources we've got. Let's not try to punch above our weight. But a realist is something that mentors should be also. Visionaries. At the same time, it's kind of a convoluted thing, but we should be visionaries too. We should be looking at the future and looking at where we want our team to go, where we want our society to go, where we want technology to go. And dreamers. Obviously, we're dreaming about what our robots will be looking like. We're dreaming about what our teams should be looking like. And I think through gracious professionalism, we're dreaming what society and the world should be looking like as we go forward. So that's our job too, and our responsibility as dreamers. Motivators, obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go too. Not everybody is eager to get out of the gate when you open it. So part of our job is to help motivate individuals to be effective parts of our team and to be successful and to be involved. Sometimes though, we also have to be mediators. So we have to hold off people from doing what humans do, is argue and complain and basically make life not easy for one another. So part of our job is to mediate that and to make the team more successful and to work together. At times too, obviously people are people and have challenges and issues and problems, and we're there to counsel. Not only counsel personally, but also counsel professionally to help guide students to certain careers and certain skills and areas they can use their skills. We have to communicate. So we'll talk more about this too, but it's communicating to the team, communicating to parents, getting the communications from FIRST, sifting through all the communications we get to the key points that are going to be effective for our team. We're also fundraisers. So the list keeps going if you haven't figured this out yet. We're fundraisers too. So we are raising money for our teams to sustain them. So we find various things to do to raise money. Speaking of money, we're money managers also. FIRST, as we all know, is not an inexpensive venture. So we have to raise the funds to keep going and sustain our teams and to pay for registrations and for travel and for robot parts and for all the things we need to pay for. So we need to be money managers. I know that not all mentors are responsible for all this stuff, but I bet for those mentors who've been in FIRST for a long time, you've done almost all of these jobs, if not all of them. Also project management. So we have a lot of different things that we need to be doing, and we have a very short time to be doing them in to be successful. So being a project manager and juggling a lot of things is important. We have to coach. So FIRST is a sports team in a way. It's the band. It's a very committed activity, and we're working with youth. So youth need to be coached, and sometimes we need to be coached as mentors. But coach is another role that mentors have. We need to cheerlead. Not everything goes well. Not everything goes the way we plan it, and so we have to bring the team up when they're down, and when we're excited, we can cheerlead. And so that's another job that mentors have to do on a regular basis. Now some of the fun ones. So Uber driver. So I'm sure that almost all mentors have driven students home, have driven students to the meetings, to the school, to catch the bus to go to a competition, to go get food, to go to outreach events. So we're constantly driving people places, and so we are also Uber drivers. We're travel agents, so that's my wife Jeanette. But we are, as we go to competitions, we are working to make sure that we can get the team from point A to point B in the least expensive, most safe way we can do it. So we are all at some point travel agents. We're food deliverers. And I can tell you a little story here briefly. Our first year in FIRST, which is 1999-2000, we didn't know what we were doing, like most teams don't when they're first year. And for almost every meal during our build season was either pizza or subs or hoagies. And it got pretty sickening after a while, but it was the most convenient thing to get, and we just alternated for the whole season. But anyway, food deliverer is another role that the mentors have. Volunteer. Obviously, many of us have other roles besides FRC Mentor, and there's a lot of volunteers in the FIRST Mentor grouping. So thank you all for volunteering. Parent. So sometimes we're actually parents of students on the teams, and if not, we're their surrogate parents on the teams. And just like parents, some days are great, and some days we have to get, and some days it's tough love, right? So that's the way most teams work. Friends. So hopefully for all of us during and after first season, we just build more strong friendships, and those friendships can absolutely last a lifetime. And through all this and thinking about what mentors really are and the roles that we have, I think there's one that to me that's really special, and it's this one. Mentors are co-authors of many FIRST stories. So everybody has a FIRST story, and I'm lucky, I'm sure many mentors are lucky, to help people develop and build and write their FIRST story. However, it's not all fun and games. I mean, there are challenges. As a FIRST mentor, we all know and have all experienced challenges. So I want to go through some of what I believe are some significant challenges for FIRST mentors. And the first one is balance. So for all of us, you know, FIRST is a great thing. It takes a lot of our time, and we're willing to put a lot of time into it. But what we also have to do is we have to balance. We have to balance FIRST. We have to balance our careers. We have to balance our health, our family, our hobbies, and that's really challenging to do. Let's get real here. It's really challenging and really stressful. And a lot of times people have guilt. A lot of times people can't do everything, and they have to sometimes move away from one of these aspects to focus on and build and nourish another one. And we need to do that, because otherwise the whole thing comes tumbling down. So make sure, we'll talk more about that. But that's definitely a key focus that we all should have in balancing FIRST with everything else we have in life. So as mentors, one of the things we have to do, and it's a challenge, is we have to get information from FIRST and sift through it. So new mentors probably look like this young girl, and the water hose of FIRST information is on. And it's tough. And in fact, it's not only new mentors, it's returning mentors too. There's just so much information. When I started with FIRST, it was maybe an email, maybe a website you had to go to, and that was it. Now there's so many different forms of information. It comes so fast in so many different formats that it's really challenging to figure out exactly how you need to navigate that. But for new FIRST mentors, it might very well feel like this. We have lots of projects, right? I mean, obviously we work, family, everything like the balance, but at the same time, we have a lot of team projects, especially for those of you who are contenders for the Chairman's Award, doing a lot of outreach, doing a lot of STEM work, and trying to build your team and maintain your team and do all the things that you need to do. It's a lot of place to spin. And so we're always trying to spin plates and trying to keep all of our projects going effectively and not have any disasters. So that's a big challenge trying to go forward. One of the biggest challenges, and I'll say over my career as a FRC mentor, is think back about all the relationships and all the challenges. The biggest challenges, and I'm sure many of you might be able to attest to this too, is dealing with parents. And we all have to do it. It's challenging. Sometimes it's really challenging, but we have to find ways to be professional, be gracious, and deal with the issue that we have, that the parents have with whatever. And I know many of you out there have had to do this on a regular basis, and I give you kudos because it's not easy to do, but it's important to do to be successful with the FRC team. School politics. So I know that from our team, we're a community team, like I mentioned, we're not affiliated directly with the school. So that gives us some advantages. We don't have to deal with school politics like many teams do. Obviously, there are politics in everything that we do, but this is an area I'm sure that really is challenging to some. Mentor conflicts. So we all have those. Anytime you put a bunch of mentors together, you're going to have potentially some conflicts. Hopefully, the conflicts aren't as challenging as this one looks to be. But we have to deal with the students, we have to deal with the parents, and we have to deal with the mentors, the other mentors. It's like we never get into conflict like that, right? Anyway, that's something we have to, that challenges us too as mentors. Motivating students. So it's great. Sometimes you get students, obviously, that are just fantastic, and they'll go do whatever. New students who don't know the culture, don't know what FRC is all about. It takes a while, and sometimes, it doesn't work out. But motivating students is another challenge that we have to deal with all the time. And I've noticed over the years, I don't know what it's like for everyone, of course, but there are ups and down years. Some years are very difficult to motivate, and other years are much easier. So hope it's your easy year coming up. Also, teams, FRC is expensive, right? So maintaining financial sustainability of your team is really important. And it costs a lot, and I know now with the COVID situation, sponsorships might be tighter. We might lose some sponsors, so sustainability of teams is really important right now. And so we need to do what we can, and FRC is obviously trying to do what they can to help teams out in this very challenging time. But this is a key role of the team. And then keeping our team members safe. So, we go places, we have equipment we're using, we have a lot of students, sometimes with nothing to do, but trying to keep them safe, not only students, but the mentors too, as we travel, as we go to new areas, as we go to new places and do new things, is a responsibility that each of us has as a mentor. So those were some of the challenges. I'm sure there are lots more, but some of the challenges that I've experienced in my FRC career. So I'm going to try to look at ways to provide some answers to some of those challenges. And however, disclaimer, I don't have all the answers, and nobody really does. And based on my experience, I'm going to just give you some ideas of how to address them. So this is an interesting slide, and I want to spend some time on it. He's probably first saying, what does this have to do with the FRC team? Well, I know a lot of teams consider they operate their teams like businesses, like companies. And so if we're going to operate our teams like companies, at least try to, then we should use business solutions to resolve some of our team challenges. Because if our team's like a company, companies are solving problems like this, like we have in different ways. So how do we use that to help our teams? This particular slide was one that I came across a number of years ago. Daniel Pink, who's an author, you probably heard of him, he presented to the Society of Human Resource Management at the annual conference. And this was what I got, really the best thing I got out of that conference that year, is that employees have an agreement with employers at their companies. And the agreement has changed over the years. So 25 years ago, the employee, it was a hierarchical relationship. The employee was kind of down at the bottom and the employer was up at the top. And the employee would provide loyalty to the employer, and the employer would provide security to the employee. That was the agreement. And so you can see this for people who've been at companies that started maybe 25 years ago or so, or longer actually, because the employees would be there for 20, 30, sometimes 40 or so years. I know at DuPont, I've had colleagues that were retiring after 40, 50 years at the company. Companies help them and provided security by having pensions and really providing all the needs that the employee needed to be at that company for 25 years or 40, 34 years. Today, though, fast forward to 2020, the agreement's different. It's not hierarchical, it's lateral. And the employee provides talent to the employer, and the employer provides opportunity to the employee. I'm just going to have you think about that for a minute, because that's really different, and it's really powerful to understand the difference in the employee agreement. And what does this difference do? So what it means, really, if you kind of boil it down, is that today's employee agreement is more like a free agency. The employer is trying his or her best or their best to retain the employee through projects and through what they need to have done as a company. And the employee says, give me an opportunity, I'll stay. Don't give me an opportunity, I'll go get one somewhere else. There's less pension, it's more of a portable 401k, and so employees can move. And right now, I don't know what the average is today, but it's probably 2 or 3 years that an employee stays in one job. So you see how that happens. So I use this because I want to share that if we're thinking about our teams as companies, and the employee agreement today is this talent opportunity agreement, we have to be thinking about that as we build and try to sustain our teams. And this not only goes for the students, it goes for the mentors. So what are the opportunities we're providing to utilize the talent that we have and to grow in the talent that we have? So based on that, I want to talk about a couple things in terms of how to solve some of our challenges, and have security, expectations, opportunities, and how to get help. So to start with, it first provides some great resources, as we all know, but you should make sure that every mentor, well, everybody on your team really, students and parents, make sure that they are part and go through and understand and create an environment for the youth protection program that FIRST provides, because it is there to help all of us and keep us all safe, all of us. And so as a responsibility as a mentor, you have a lot of safety responsibilities, and FIRST is really helping out for that. So just know it, understand it, use it. And this is from Daniel Pink too, and it's not only when you're looking at trying to create a safe environment. I think the youth protection program talks about creating that environment. And this is just some ways, and again, it's corporate, so they're thinking about it in terms of a company, but you can see when reading through this that it really helps us understand and create, I should say, an environment that is open, is trusting, and people are willing to bring up issues. So lead with questions, not answers. And I know a lot of mentors, I read a lot of Woody Flowers finalist essays that do this, and that's fantastic. They're not telling the students what the answer is. They're asking the question, having the students think about it. They're engaging in dialogue and debate, not coercion. It's not saying, come in here and just do this. Let's talk about what needs to be done and what's the best way to do it, and engage your team members. Everybody makes mistakes. So we want to conduct autopsies without blame. We learn a lot from mistakes. So without making mistakes, we wouldn't learn as much as we can. So by doing that too, it's saying it's okay to make a mistake, and we'll learn from it, we'll move on. And then building red flag mechanisms, which that means if there's something going on, something happening, something brewing, that it will come to leaders' attention, mentors' attention as quickly as possible so that we can do something about it. The worst case is if people don't bring it up and it gets to be a bigger fire than it originally was when it started. So by doing these things, you create an environment for team members to speak up when they identify problems. And that's what you want. You want people to let you know so that you can do something about it. So this really comes into when you do these things and you get to, is really knowing thyself and knowing how you individually react to some of these situations and challenges, but also knowing your team, knowing how your team is skilled at it or not skilled at it or new or experienced, and what their skills are and how they can help resolve the situation and help the team move forward. Now, if you look at companies and corporations, a lot of companies do personality tests and kind of understand the person and how that person interacts with other people. Now, I'm not saying you have the capability or the funds or the technology to do all this stuff with your team, but think about it, because there are online personality styles tests that you can do pretty quickly, get an idea. So there's things like DISC. These are just some examples. Myers-Briggs type indicator, you can probably find online you can quickly do. In my company, we use something called predictive index. And what this does, there's 4 different criteria. The nice thing about it is it's a 5-minute quick test. And with it, it really is pretty good on the nose of what motivates and drives people. Now, it's supposed to be focused on work, and it does cost some money. So if you are part of a company or have access to it through a company, I know our annual memberships provide as many tests as you want. So we haven't done it for our team yet, but I'm really thinking about doing it for our team, because it does provide some tools on how different types of personalities or motivations can communicate better with each other. That's the same thing for some of the other tests here. And I'm sure you guys have some others out there that you might have used in your business or your company or personally that would be helpful too. But if you have some of these tools, I'd suggest that you might try to use them and understand your team better. As a team and as a challenge for mentors, don't bite off more than you can chew. It's too easy to do that. And we all know people who will say yes to almost everything that's asked of them. And at some point, we all just collapse over all the things that we say yes to. So if you know your team, know thyself, know thy team, you can make sure that you don't bite off more than you can chew, and you can deal with the goals that you have. Also, I mentioned the balance. We need to stay healthy as mentors. And we know first is a challenge to health in a way, because we eat pretty poorly most of the time. We don't sleep as well because we're thinking about how to be better and solve the robot problem in the game. We have a bunch of people we're responsible for and making sure we're on the right track to complete the robot in time so we can go out and compete well. So we're always thinking about all this stuff, and it puts a lot of stress on us. Diets are worse, and we get less sleep. So our health is at risk. So make sure you stay healthy through the season and before the season, because just like putting an oxygen mask on in an airline, when you're on an airplane, for you to be healthy allows you to help everyone else be healthy. And so please consider that as you go through a first season. And regarding help, so there's a lot of places to get help, but ask for it. Don't hold off and say that I can do all this stuff myself, because you can't. I mean, first, it's very complex. There's a lot of things involved, especially if you're a team that's doing a lot of outreach and have fantastically competitive robots. So get help. And you can get help, obviously, from parents, alumni, friends, students, other first team. But I want to add something to just go get help if you need it. I mean, that's really a good piece of advice. I mean, how do you do that? But one thing that I'll suggest is when you go get help and try to get results for that help, ask specific questions, because telling somebody specifically what you need might help you get that help. I had a situation a couple of years ago with our parent group. We have a boosters group. And that group, I had a lot of plans, a lot of thoughts, a lot of committees to form, to do a lot of projects. And but you need leaders for those projects. And so if you're going to do them well. And I asked the parents if they who wanted to lead this project. It's an exciting one. Let's go ahead and do it. Parents didn't want to lead anything. So what do you do? So you kind of have to get them to crawl before they walk. So, and we had a lot of new parents. So what I try to do is ask more specifically, narrow in on what you need. So what do you need? How much effort will it take? When do you need it? Can it be done virtually, or do you have to be physically present to do it? And what's the value to the team? So some of these questions, if you just kind of compartmentalize and communicate them right, you'll get people that are, oh, I can volunteer for that. It's not going to be much time. Or I can volunteer for that because I have some time now and you need it next week. And it's a really huge value to the team and what it'll mean to the team. So by drilling down a little bit more and asking specific questions of the people you're asking to help might get better results. This is a great quote. I love this quote. So, plans are useless, but planning is essential. Dwight D. Eisenhower. We all make plans every season. I know right after the championship or the last competition you were in last season, you're excited about what's going to happen next season. What you're going to do differently to kind of get be better next season. Everybody's, great teams do that all the time. But the plans themselves, the details of the plans are useless. I remember back probably in 2003, 2004, we had someone on the team who was a project engineer, project person, and put a plan together for our season, and it basically printed it out, and it was wallpapering the wall of all these plans, all these tasks we had to have done at certain times, and it was pretty daunting. And we didn't use it. It wasn't effective. But what was effective is the process of going through it and understanding what we had to do, because we had milestones. And as opposed to saying, we have to get this done in the next 5 minutes, it was, we have to get all this stuff done by next week. It made it much easier to kind of see what the path is without getting caught up in the details. So I suggest you do that. In fact, Mo has put together over the years some successful and not so successful plans. And obviously 2020 took a right turn because of COVID, but we every year, some of us try to get together and put together a plan. And one of the things that we're not very good at is getting buy-in from the whole team. So we have to work on that going forward. But this is an example of just on a one page, you can put together a lot of different goals and plans and details. You can see how it does connect with a corporate kind of objective statement, but it does work fairly well if you lay everything out and what you have to do and what your focuses are. It really focuses you and prioritizes what you need. Another thing is just setting expectations, and we hear this all the time, but setting realistic expectations to your team. And so expectations for students, for mentors, and for parents. What is it that that they're expected to do and at what times, and to be a contributing member of the team. So with expectations also comes accountability, and accountability is the key because it's the glue. It ties commitment. I mean, we have a lot of students that come in, they see the robot, if they're new, they get all excited, say, oh yeah, this is great, I'm going to give all my time up to build this robot, it's going to be fantastic. But then it's like when it comes time to really be accountable, it's like, well, yeah, I have this to do. I have to study and do and work on these on the midterms today, and then tomorrow I have tennis practice, and tonight I have to do this. And then they're not. Are they really committed? And are they really accountable? So one of our jobs as mentors is how do you hold people accountable? And I think a big part of it is just going through the whole process of setting up expectations, making sure that you hold people accountable to the results, and you be very clear on what the consequences are if they don't have the commitment and get the results. And so this is a tough one. So sometimes you have to say, if you do not do A, B, C, D, which we talked about early on, then maybe you're not a good fit for the team. I mean, that's really hard. But by telling the consequences and sharing consequences of not doing certain things, you're very clear as to what is expected and what you need to do to maintain consistency on the team. And it's only fair to the people that do follow and are accountable. Now, to do all this, it's not very easy. So you have to have difficult conversations. And as we all know as mentors, if we're not very skilled at having difficult conversations, things can go south very quickly. So this is a book I've read a long time ago. It's a great book. It's an easy read to learn more about the dynamics of conversations and why they're difficult. And it's about emotions, it's about values, it's about the personal attacks or not. And so it gives you a lot of good advice as to have those conversations in a way that's not negative to the individual that you're talking with. Okay. And with those conversations, obviously what you have to do is you have to have effective communication. And not only just communication, but effective communication. And effective communication is that I'm sending out a message to you, I'm encoding it in how I give it to you, and I send it out, and then you decode it and you interpret it some way. And then I assume that you've interpreted it the same way I sent it and intended it. but you need to get feedback to make sure that the message is right. And the message is something that you intended to send to the recipient. How we do some of this and how teams do it, I mean, so set expectations and then you send the message and check it, is through a student contract. We have students and parents required to read it and sign it up front, and many teams do this, I know. Obviously, keeping communication avenues going. We have regular monthly parent meetings. We have a boosters channel on Slack that we constantly communicate on. And then having a code of ethics. I know a lot more teams, this is great to hear, a lot more teams are having code of ethics now, and coming up with their code. What is their values? What are their values? What are their ethics? And that sets the tone. That is the culture of the team. And if people kind of buy into that, then they're buying into expectations. I talked about opportunities before, the talent opportunities. So we're all here to give students opportunities to grow. Now, students and any first team is similar to just a normal distribution. So you have people that are to the right of this distribution that they're taking the initiative. They're going to come on here and they're just going to hit the ground running. They're going to go. So you want to give them roles, give them things to do, give them things you really need to have done, and let them go. So that's a good percentage of the population. Hopefully, it's a good percentage of your team population. But then on the other end of the normal distribution, there are people that are there. Who knows why they're there? They might be there because their parents see that there's $80 million worth of scholarships that FIRST makes students are eligible for through FIRST. And that's why their parents push them there. We've had a couple of those. I'm sure maybe you have too. So the question for that group is, do you pull them along or aren't they a fit? You kind of have to understand and assess the situation and determine what to do about that. And then you have the majority of the people that are in the middle. They're there, they're excited, but they might not be as much, they might not have as much initiative as the people on the other end of the spectrum. So how do you do that? How do you really have to motivate? That's where you motivate. That's where you push them forward, and hopefully you learn enough about them and what drives them and motivates them, get them towards the initiated end of the curve. But anyway, this is the way I see most FIRST teams. And the nice thing about FIRST is this is from Society of Human Resource Management. And some of you might have seen this, but how do you teach people where they retain the information? And FIRST is perfect because it's not just lecture, it's not just reading and demonstration. It's practice by doing, an immediate use of learning. So when you get somebody in FIRST and you get that middle of the bell curve, if you can, just bring FIRST through and you expose them to FIRST and they do the things that FIRST requires of them and teams require of them, they will get it and they will retain it. And that's the beauty of FIRST, the FIRST program. It takes that middle group and it moves them to the top of that group. So do all these things, no problem, and you have a successful team. So obviously it's not quite that easy, but we're all in this, and some of you that are in this for decades, thank you. And it's been a joy really to go through some of this myself. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the joys, and every person has a story about this. And I'm going to talk about a couple people that on our team that went through this. So this is Andrea, and Andrea was a student on our team, and she's probably joined when she was a sophomore. She was motivated, but she really got motivated when she went to outreach events, talked about the team. When I saw her passion on the team, just like finding opportunities, she was kind of promoted to one of our Chairman's Award presenters. And when she did that, she was on our Chairman's Award presenter team that actually won the Chairman's Award. This is her at the Atlanta Championship in 2007, wearing her prom dress, her Mo prom dress, and she actually presented the Chairman's Award in that prom dress. And there's her Woody signing her dress. So it was finding the passion and moving the person to the right role so she can be successful. Here's her. We're very fortunate. After we won the Chairman's Award, we got a trip to the White House. And this is President Bush and Dean at the White House with Andrea. And those are our three Chairman's presenters. You see the picture. Today, she's a senior consultant, customer energy integration at National Grid. She's a bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering and sustainable energy engineering, and she has her MBA. So I'm very proud to have been a co-author to her story in life. Quickly, just to talk about Julian. Julian was on the autism scale, and his dad was a DuPont employee, and brought him to the team. And the thing about Julian is when he came to the team, he's never been able to engage in an event where he wasn't 50 feet or less away from a parent. And that was our challenge. So in the couple of years he was on the team, he was able to, this is just a great feat because initially his father was with him the whole time. But when the second or third year, he went to the championship, the world championship, on his own with the team. And we were all very supportive of him. And it was a great moment to give him his independence. And if you watch our Chairman's Award video, he has a couple of lines in it. And again, very independent. It was a great honor to have him move through our team and find that independence through FRC. This is Jerome. Jerome grew up in foster homes since he was a couple years old. He came to our team about 17 years old, got excited, got in with the team, fit in really, really well. And then he had to leave the team when he reached 18 because he could no longer stay in the foster system. So he was not part of our team his senior year. And he went out and he got himself into trouble. So he ended up being incarcerated. And I actually wrote some letters back and forth with him during his incarceration. And I think he had time to think. And he came out of his incarceration and was really focused. And today, he's an executive producer, composer, audio engineer, and started his own company, Wave Lab Studios. In the bottom left of the screen is him at the Grammys. So he's local here in Wilmington, so we're very proud of what Jerome has accomplished. Kyle Rice, some of you might know Kyle. Kyle was probably our #1 ambassador on our team. And this is him, probably circa 2003, talking with Steve Wozniak of Apple, who was a judge at the championship that year. So Kyle just did some fantastic things. He got us our reading, he started our reading program, which helped us with the Chairman's Award and did fantastic things at that point, and he's doing fantastic things now. He's a firefighter, EMT, and paramedic, and he's a new dad of Madeline, who's now a little over 3 months old. So there's daddy and daughter. Fantastic picture. But this is what makes you proud to be a mentor, when you see people, good people, that you help to move on with their lives and go to that next chapter of their lives. But it's not just students. As mentors, we're here to build stories for other mentors. And this is Joe Parado, he was one of the founders of our team also, winning the Woody Flowers Finalist Award. And what a great moment to see a colleague be recognized that way. And we've had, fortunately on Mo, and I'm sure many other teams, have a lot of colleagues that have moved into significant first roles, either mentors of other teams, volunteers, significant game design roles, ref roles, inspector roles, judge roles. So we're very proud to have been part of all of these volunteer stories and to see them be successful and be giving back through FRC. So as you can see a lot of joy, and there's even more joy. I'll just give you a little bit more joy from my experience, and then we can take some questions. But this is our team. It's one of my favorite pictures of our team a couple of years ago. Just having fun, just being joyful. Obviously, another couple of joyful moments. I'll go through these fairly quickly. But one of them is our second year out. We were paired with the Beatty Beast, Team 71, and won the national championship at the time. And that was a fantastic moment in Disney, Orlando. 2007, we won the Chairman's Award. So my favorite moment, one of my favorite moments of the Chairman's Award was the pyramid. It really is more of a polygon, not really a pyramid, but it had Woody towards the top. So that was a great thing. In fact, Woody reenacted this pyramid a couple years ago at the World Championship with us. And we mentioned we went to the White House, and this is just giving President Bush one of our jerseys. The guy there, the student there looking on, is Matt. He is actually a SpaceX engineer right now. So if you all, hopefully you all saw the SpaceX launch a couple weeks ago, but hopefully, he was, I think, connected and involved with that. We all, as mentors, have special matches, like specific matches. And the longer we're in first, the more detailed we probably remember these matches. But this is my favorite match in 21 years. And you can go look it up. It's actually, the video on Blue Alliance is not great, but it's in terms of quality. but it's the finals match 2 in Philadelphia Regional 2008. And I love matches where teams demonstrate resilience. And I won't go into the details here, but it's a match that really hit me with how resilient our alliance was. And it's a fantastic match. When I start watching it, I just have to watch the whole thing. And it just brings back some fantastic memories. So we were partnered, just for completeness, with Miss Daisy 341 and Chuck. Actually, it's not existing anymore in first in '84 at Philadelphia. Other joys in my first life were my daughter's kindergarten class, going there and doing an outreach event and actually taking them coloring books that our students put together. So that was fun. My family. So my kids, I was a first Lego League junior mentor, first Lego League mentor, and FRC mentor. And I had 1 year when they were both on the team in 2015, and that was a special moment because when I started out with first, thank God to my wife, Jeanette, my children were 1 and 3. So without her, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have done this. And we do fun things. So kids teach us things. And if you don't know, this is a T-pose. I had no idea what it was before people started doing it, but I learned. We had a 20-year reunion a couple years ago. It was fantastic. My selfie skills are poor, but we were able to at least capture some blurry faces that I think are part of our team because they're wearing green. It's great to have alumni come back, and these are we make a poster each year for our team, and these are 2 alum, Claudia and Cassandra. Claudia was a Brazilian exchange student, international student who was on our team for a year, and we were gracious with her presence. Now I think she's a lawyer, and we're able to, the 3 founding mentors, Vince Keaty, Joe Prater, and I. Obviously, outreach events are fun. COVID has kind of delayed any 4th of July parade, so we won't be out there like this year, but it's a lot of fun. And growing the number of women on the team has been a fantastic joy for me. We're past number of years, about 8 years, most years we've been at about 40% or more women. And first year we had 2 out of 21. So made a lot of progress, and it's great to see the girls involved in this actively and doing anything they want in first. Couple of quick things here. It's great to also have small groupies, and we have a 2nd grade class that has groupies for us. They've made us breakfast bags on the upper left. They've made us signs. This past year, they made us these good luck cards, which we actually were wearing at our first competition and only competition this year. But I love this card that says, "You guys have skills." It's just classic. But we love the 2nd grade class at Thurgood Marshall Elementary School in Delaware. But what gives me the most joy on a regular basis is just going into the lab during build season and seeing everybody focused and working together to come up with a fantastic contraption at the end of the year that we compete with. And this is just an example of us in our lab working. So that's us. That's 365. We're gracious professionals. We make grandmothers proud, and I hope you all do out there too. We have fun and realize that truly great mentors are hard to find, difficult to part with, and impossible to forget. A couple other things, and this is thanks to Coco Ed Patterson. Never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. We all are making lives every day when we're mentoring at first. Because what we do is we build good people. And we build lots of people every year. And again, remember that we are co-authors for a lot of first stories. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of them, and I'd love to hear them someday. Given that, I think I'm going to end this, but before that, the quintessential mentor for first, Woody Flowers. I just want to say thank you, Woody, for everything you've done for us. Your legacy lives on in us and in first, and we will never, ever forget you, and we miss you. So just like Woody would do, I've put this in. I'm not going to talk about it all, but just to show that I read. I have a lot of things here that I've read, and I would recommend them to you, so it'll be in the presentation. You can get it. And that's about it. So thank you for your time, and I hope if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Yep. So thank you for that. That was a really insightful presentation. I really enjoyed it myself. Now on to the questions. So first question. So what's your most favorite memory of being a mentor?
Like I said, there's a bunch of them, and then this is the great thing about FIRST. There's so many of them. I mean, sometimes it's helping an individual student, and our goal isn't to get that student to be necessarily a Dean's List winner or championship. It's to get that student to progress from where they came in at. We had students come in that didn't know the difference between a regular screwdriver and a Phillips screwdriver, and when they left, they could fix their parents' appliances. I mean, so that is a win. And the most I guess the number one thing, I mean, you know, winning the Chairman's Award, it's just a fantastic experience. And you know, you work so hard. I know the teams are out there working really hard, and it's so challenging. And every year it gets more and more challenging. But just that second of hearing your name called when they call the Chairman's Award, there's nothing quite like it. There's nothing quite like it.
Yeah. Next question. What's your biggest lesson that you learned from failure?
From failure, I think the biggest lesson, and if you've come to the chairman's chats, I've said this before, you get cocky when you're successful. And FIRST just started regionals, regional chairman's awards, and we applied. When the first year was a regional chairman's award, we won one, and it was like, oh, this is great, we're awesome, you know. And but you're not really all that awesome. And what happened is the next year we just kind of kept going. We thought we'd just do the same things, do more of them, we'll be fine, without really thinking. And we were doing it for the award. We weren't doing it because it was the right thing to do. And that year was a tough lesson, but it was a good lesson because it taught us that why we want to do this, why we don't want to do this for the Chairman's Award. We want to do this because it's the right thing to do, and our team members are excited about doing it for our communities. When we got that mindset, it changed how we looked at the Chairman's Award. The Chairman's Award was a secondary thing that we put together because of all the other things that we wanted to do. That was a hard lesson, but it was a necessary lesson, and it really changed our trajectory as a team.
Yeah, definitely. Next question. So, since there's so much going on around the world, COVID-19, race relations, and more, what are you doing to help your students cope through this time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. You know, I think part of it is just being there, is being accessible. When this all hit, the first thought was, and we have students, like I said, from all different schools, so there's not like school messages coming to students and things like that. So first off, just everybody just needs to do what they need to do to be safe. So we kind of gave everybody a little bit of time to just kind of get into whatever new pattern they were into. And when we thought it was appropriate, we started bringing students back. Now, we couldn't get into our lab, so we couldn't be doing some things that others are doing for the communities. But what we're starting to do now is we're starting to just be there for students and just get together, you know, try to have some fun and try to see where people are. I mean, it's hard to communicate a lot virtually when you talk about specific issues, right, and concerns. But I think that with some levity, but just really getting together and being together with people for right now is what we're going to do. And hopefully we'll see how things change over time. You know, we might be doing this for a while. And if we have to, then we have to find unique and fun ways, which many teams are doing now, to get through it.
Yep, thank you. Next one. What's your favorite season of FRC?
My favorite season? You know, I have to say, I go back to my favorite match that I put up here as a chart. And it was overdrive season, and it was because of that match. I mean, that match was a fantastic match, and it just, when I talk about the seasons of FIRST, I mean, the games, obviously there's favorite games and things like that, but that match just meant so much to the team, and it was about resilience, and I think that's why that's my favorite. It's hard. It's like a favorite child, you know. How do you pick one? But that's a favorite memory of a really good season.
Yeah, resilience is pretty important in everyday life. Yeah.
Sure, you bet.
So during these times, what keeps you motivated and moving every day?
You know, I'm right now we're in the process of we go out at the end of our school year, which is like May, June, and we go to high schools and we recruit. Now we aren't able to do that because the schools were closed. So we're doing recruiting virtually, and it's exciting for me because I get to really talk to new students and parents, and we're doing it all via Zoom, about FIRST, and many of them don't even know about it. and it's because we go to different schools and we pull new people in every year. So to me, it's exciting to really be showing students what FIRST is all about and their first experience, just by showing some videos and talking about the program and things like that. That's exciting to me, and I can see the potential in these students from the beginning. That's what I really enjoy doing at this point in time.
Yeah. Last question, I think. How do you avoid burnout after 20 years? What is the greatest new challenge you're facing right now?
The new challenge is to keep it going. I mean, it's, it's keeping this thing, and it's those of you who are mentors out there and, going through your decades of mentoring, it's ups and downs. I mean, the reality of being a mentor is that some years you're great and you're like, I'm pumped, I'm going to keep going and do this forever. And other years, it's like, man, what's the exit strategy here? How do I get out? I mean, and that's, I mean, I my mind. Maybe I'm just, different. But I don't think so. I think a lot of people, it's ups and downs, and it's your support structure and your networks, and things change every year. I mean, some years we have a number of mentors who their businesses have to travel and they can't be there, or people get sick, and you just go through life. And it's the toughest thing to avoid burnout, though, is to engage new people, whether they're mentors, and we're in the process right now of looking for who's the next generation. What's the next generation to take over our team. We work so hard on teams that as a mentor, you don't want to see it die. You don't want to see it go away. And how do you build others? And I know alumni are a big part of this, and others that can really keep this thing going. And then it's just like a child, at some point you got to let it go to the next generation. So I think to avoid burnout and to get it's about bringing new people in, and hopefully you can get a couple that are really gung ho and will take the baton and keep running.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for your time. I learned quite a few things, even though I'm not a mentor, but being a good person and being a leader. But I think that's about it. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody out there. Keep it rolling, and thanks for 24 hours of